have the money for food supplements or anything. So I had to go to work. So I worked in construction. I went to college. I worked out in the gym, and at night from 8 o'clock at night to 12 midnight, I went to acting class 4 times a week. So I did all of that. There was not one single minute that I wasted. And this is why I'm standing here today. At the age of 20, I went to London and I won the Mr. Universe contest as the youngest Mr. Universe ever. And it was because I had a goal. You see, if you don't have a vision of where you go, and if you don't have a goal where you go, you drift around and you never end up anywhere. 74% hate their job in America. The majority of people don't like what they're doing because they're really not doing it because they didn't have a goal and they followed this goal. They just aimlessly drift around, and then all of a sudden there's a job opening, so they get that job because you have to work. But then when you work, it's a chore. It's work. It's not fun. So if you think about, only a quarter of the people really enjoy what they're doing in life. So people always ask me, when they saw me in the gym in the pumping iron days, they say, why is it that you're working out so hard? 5 hours a day, 6 hours a day, and you have always a smile on your face. The others are working out just as hard as you do, and they look sour in the face. Why is that? And I told people all the time, I said, because to me, I'm shooting for a goal. In front of me is the Mr. Universe title. So every rep that I do gets me closer to accomplishing that goal, to make this goal, this vision, turn into reality. Every single set that I do, every repetition, every weight that I lift will get me a step closer to turn this goal into reality. So I couldn't wait to do another 500-pound squat. I couldn't wait to do another 500-pound bench press. I couldn't wait to do another 2,000 reps of sit-ups. I couldn't wait for the next exercise. So let me tell you something, visualizing your goal and going after it makes it fun. You got to have a purpose no matter what you do in life. You got to have a purpose. And Muhammad Ali worked his butt off. And I saw it firsthand. And I remember that there was a sports writer that was there in the gym when he was working out and he was doing sit-ups. And they asked him, how many sit-ups do you do? And he said, I don't start counting until it hurts. Now think about that. He doesn't start counting his sit-ups until he feels pain. That's when he starts counting. That is working hard. And so you can't get around the hard work. It doesn't matter who it is. Work your ass off. There is no magic pill. There is no magic out there. You cannot get around. You have to work and work and work. Make sure of this and make sure of that and all that stuff. So it's work. And it drives me crazy when people say that they don't have enough time to go to the gym for 45 minutes a day and work out. Or to do something for 45 minutes to an hour a day to improve. If it is physically improve or if it is mentally to improve. Imagine you read 1 hour a day about history. How much you will learn after 365 hours in 1 year. Think about if you study about the history of musicians, of composers, how much you would know. Imagine if you would work on a business, on some business that you want to develop every day for an hour. Imagine how further along you will go and get. So it drives me nuts because when people say we don't have the time, we have 24 hours a day. We sleep 6 hours a day, so that gives you still 18 hours. Now there's someone shaking their head out here in front. They say probably, I don't sleep 6 hours, I sleep 8 hours, right? Or just sleep faster. So we have 18 hours a day. The average person works around 8 to 10 hours. So let's assume it's 10 hours, so if you have 8 hours left, then you travel around an hour a day, maybe 2 hours a day. So now you have still 6 hours left. So what do you do with the 6 hours? What do you do with the 6 hours? Then we eat a little bit, then we schmooze a little bit, talk a little bit to people and all that stuff. But you can see how much time there is available if you organize your day. So you got to work hard. I hate plan B. And I tell you why. Because we have so many doubters, as I've said earlier, the no-sayers. We have so many of those people that say no and you can't do it, that's impossible. That is okay because we just turn off, as I said earlier, and we listen and we hear the no being a yes. You can't do it, you can do it, and all of that. So that is possible to do that amongst all the negative people around you. But when you start doubting yourself, that's very dangerous. Because now what you're basically saying is that if my plan doesn't work, I have a fallback plan, I have a plan B. And that means that you start thinking about plan B, and every thought that you put into plan B, you're taking away now that thought and that energy from plan A. And it's very important to understand that we function better if there is no safety net, because plan B becomes a safety net. It says that if I fail, then I fall and I get picked up and I have something else there that will protect me. And that's not good, because people perform better when there's no safety net. People perform better in sports and everything else if you don't have a plan B. I'm telling you, I've never ever had a plan B. I made a full commitment that I'm gonna go and be a bodybuilding champion. I made a full commitment that I'm gonna be in America. I made a full commitment that I'm gonna get in the show business and I'm going to be a leading man. No matter what it takes, I will do the work. I will do the work over and over and over until I get it. And the same was in politics, in everything like that. So to me, it is very dangerous to have a plan B, because you're cutting yourself off from the chance of really succeeding. And the reason, one of the main reasons why people want to have a plan B is because they are worried about
Yo, what's up, familia? Grand Rising and happy Tuesday. Super blessed and very grateful to be on this call with all of you. Man, happy New Year too, by the way. I haven't seen a lot of you guys, so I wanted to make sure that, I'm telling you guys happy New Year's as well. Super excited and blessed to be on this call with all of you. And just looking forward to it. It's always a pleasure whenever we get to do mornings with Nano and Rising and happy too. There we go. Let me mute that over there. Let me bring this over here. Participants, pop out chat. There we go. Okay, awesome. So yeah, guys, I'm super excited to be on this call with all of you guys. Thank you guys all so very much for hopping on. I'm always blessed and excited whenever I get a chance to do mornings with Nano on YouTube, because, I get a chance to talk to more of the fam. But I'm blessed. I'm grateful. I'm out here in San Diego having a great time. Yesterday was one of those long days where, we worked all day. We put in the work literally the whole entire day, and it was blessed and it was exciting to just be able to experience that. But I hope that, all of you guys are feeling good today. All of you guys are feeling aligned today. I really am in a really good place right now mentally. I'm feeling really, really good. I'm excited for the new year. Just brought in a lot of new energy. So just real quick in the chat box, guys, if you guys have not typed in Happy New Year's, wish a Happy New Year's to anybody who's here. I know some of us didn't get a chance to, say it to each other. because, you know, it was over the weekend. So, you know, Happy New Year's to all. We have a great topic for us today that we're going to be going over. But, you know, it's a great time to be here right now. It's a great place. I'm excited. I wanted to do a very intentional training to make sure that everybody was just on the right page when it comes to what it is that, you know, we want to accomplish when it comes to 2023. So I wanted to do something nice. But in the meantime, before we get into today's call, let's practice some gratitude real quick. What's one thing that you guys are grateful for? What's one thing that you're grateful for this beautiful Tuesday morning? I want to know. I'm grateful for God. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my family, my mom, my dad, my little brother, my goddaughters, and my godson. I'm grateful for my team and all the leaders within my organization. I'm grateful for this trip to San Diego and the whole family that's here. I'm grateful for my team. I'm grateful for the incredible call we had last night, the 2023 vision call that we had last night. I'm grateful for Mornings with Nano. I'm grateful for MMX. I'm grateful for my sis Jasmine and everything that she does for the family. I'm grateful for all the lessons. I'm grateful for, you know, all the things that I've been learning lately. Extremely grateful for all of it. So, you know, I'm excited that you guys are on this call with me and learning every single day, because that's what this is all about. It's about learning. It's about organizing yourself. It's about putting yourself in a position of growth and elevation. And I know that that's what you guys are doing there right now. So I really do appreciate you guys. This training that I'm going to do right now is very important because everybody needs to understand this in order for you to win this year. So I hope that you guys are taking notes. I hope that you guys are ready for this. This training is going to be extremely powerful. So I want you guys to get your pens and papers out, get ready, because this training is about to get you guys super dope in. All right. So let me bring out my whiteboard. You guys know when I bring out my whiteboard, it's time to work. Okay, because I wanted to make sure that this training was super intentional and what we talked about was super intentional as well. Okay, so let's go into it. So at the top of your paper, I want you to write down 2023 story. Okay, the 2023 story. Now, the reason why I wanted to do this training earlier in the year is because we got to understand that the story we tell ourselves will determine the reality that we live. Okay, the story that we tell ourselves will determine the reality that we live. Now, let's get into some stuff here. I'm gonna really start giving you guys some keys real quick so you guys can truly understand what I'm trying to say with this. But like I said, the story but our story can also be our demise. You know, our story can also be what holds us back. And if you don't organize a good story in your mind, you know, you can be telling yourself a story that's actually holding you back. All right. You know, you can actually tell your story. You can actually be telling yourself a story that is causing everything that's happening in your life right now. And you don't even know it, because you've told yourself that story enough that you actually are believing that story. You are actually not aligned with the story, and it's causing you to go, you know, not the right way. So I want you guys to understand this, okay? Your story is your glory, all right? So, you know, I got some notes here because I wanted to take notes on some of this stuff. And I think that, you know, a lot of people really need to understand this, but a lot of things come from, a lot of people need to understand where their stories come from, okay? And this was something that I've recently learned. I've been doing a lot of deep work lately. I've also, you know, expanded and got some professional help, and, you know, really started to tap in with, you know, just who I am and what it is that I'm about. And I recently learned this about stories, and I want to share this with you guys because I feel like you guys can learn this a lot. Okay, so I want you guys to think about this right here. So look at this structure right here. So triggers, right? Let me, how would I do this? Let me see. And then, all right, yeah, we'll do it like this. Triggers, mind, boom, boom. Thoughts. This is amazing information right here as well, by the way. Now, so now look at this right here. All right. So a lot of people ask, well, Nano, what's my story now? Well, in order for us to understand the story, we have to actually understand where it comes from and where it actually stems from. All right. And if you see it right here, it all starts with triggers. Okay. Triggers lead to the mind, right? The mind leads to thoughts. The thoughts lead to your beliefs. The beliefs leads to your stories. Okay. So what do I mean by triggers? What do I mean by triggers? What is it things that you see? What are things that you hear? What is it that people tell you that triggers you to think a certain way? All right. This is so important. All right. This is why they say your environment is everything. Okay. This is why they say your environment is so important to your success. Because if you think about it, your environment, by you seeing certain things in your environment or hearing things in certain environments, that triggers your mind. All right. The moment your mind gets triggered, all right, you start to think. Okay. And remember, what you think about most of the time ends up becoming a belief. And then what you end up believing becomes a story, because it's going to be something that you tell yourself over and over and over and over again. All right. Now, this is going to get deep here, guys. So I need you guys to really pay attention here, because this could be one of the most important trainings of the whole entire year right here, right now. First training of the year on YouTube. So you think about triggers, you think about the things like the things that we see on a day-to-day basis, the things that we hear when it comes to music, when it comes to our family, when it comes to our friends, when it comes to our significant other. Like, you got to really sit down and think about these things. A lot of them things become triggers, right? You have your parents speaking negatively to you. That's a trigger. They can trigger certain things in your mind to come about. Like, for example, I would get triggered a lot when I was starting off in my journey, because my parents were very negative, right? They would always tell me like, yo, that's not going to work. That's not for you. Go get a job. You're not making any money in this. So when they would say those things to me, my mind would get triggered. And then I would start to actually think about it. Like, yo, is this really not for me? Is this something that I'm really not going to be able to do? I'm really not making money. I actually start to almost believe what it is that they're telling me in a way. And you almost start, like I said, it becomes a thought, but it then starts to become a belief. Because listen to what happens. You hear it once. Yes, cool. But then the thing is that I start to hear my mom throughout the day now in my mind. Like, damn, mom told me like, this is not for me. Is it really not for me? Like, and then you start to speak it. You start to speak it. You start to realize that you start to speak it. You start telling your friends like, man, bro, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if this is going to be for me. Like, this is hard. Like, I just might as well go get myself a job. And next thing you know, you are speaking the things that someone else installed into you. And because you're speaking it, because you're telling yourself and you're speaking it, you guys remember the training I did, the silent killer, right? Remember the silent killer? The silent killer is the voice in your mind, the small voice inside that eventually impresses your subconscious mind over and over and over again. That little silent voice, eventually you start to hear it multiple times a day. Next thing you know, you say that story enough, it becomes your truth. It becomes what you believe. And then that story determines the reality that you live. So think about it. If you told yourself that it's not for you, that it's not going to work, that you're not making money, Think about how that makes you feel. How does that make you feel? So that's why it's so key that you really understand your triggers and what triggers you right now. Okay, because these are the things that you have to change first, the triggers. And like I said, some of us, our environments, our families, the people that we listen to, the music that we listen to, this is why I had to make such a massive change within. Okay, this is why there was such a massive change with myself, because I had to sit down and change everything about Nano for my life to change. Like, this is why I tell you guys, like, some of you guys don't understand. Like, I had to change everything about Nano for my life to change. I couldn't continue to live the way I was living. Like, me listening to my family, me listening to my friends, me walking outside the streets of New York City, seeing garbage all over the place, drugs sold on every corner. Everybody was just lost and confused with no idea what they wanted in life. Everybody was talking about how broke they were and how much lack of money they had. And the news was talking about pandemics and nothing positive and lack of money. And it was just like everywhere I looked, it was all negative. It was all bad. But if I started to think about it, guys, I created that story though. I was looking around. I'm like, yo, I created this story based off of the things that I believe, based off of my thoughts, based off of my triggers. You start looking around and you start realizing that you're the one that creates these stories in your mind. And then you complain when you start to live the reality of those stories. I promise you, like, it can change everything for you if you understand this. Sis, can you grab me a water right there, please? So you start to change the triggers, right? But the thing with the triggers is that sometimes you have to first identify the enemy. That's why I always say, identify the enemy. Okay, you got to identify the enemy, right? It's very important, super, super important. You must identify the enemy, because you need to identify who's triggering your mind. Is it your family? Is it, Instagram? Is it a girlfriend or a boyfriend? Is it, your environment? Is it the house you live in? What is it that is triggering your mind to think certain things? Like, for example, something that would trigger me was, living at my parents' house. Living in my parents' house is great. I loved living there. Like, it was awesome. Even still to this day, when I go there, I love going there. But when I first came up, living in my parents' house at about 24, 25 years old, about 24, 25 years old, I would be living there, but I'm like, man, I still live in the hood. Like, the environment, like, would really it was just, I understood that it wasn't for me anymore. It's just being in my own room that I grew up in, and knowing that I was 25 years old, living in that room still made me feel some kind of way. It was just something that would always trigger me. It was just something that always made me feel some kind of way. So think about it. Just being in my room, okay, would trigger me to think certain things. And then I will start to think these things, and eventually those things, like I said, become beliefs. And then those beliefs come stories. They really do. They end up becoming stories that you tell yourself. So I had to change my whole life, like change the way I did everything. And this is when I really got deep into what I always tell you guys, my self-development journey. Because I remember listening to an audio that said, if you don't dedicate 2 hours to 3 hours a day to your self-development, you are truly not passionate about your self-growth. Listen to that. So, because I was listening to this audio, and I remember the audio saying, like, asking this guy, like, are you really passionate about your growth? And the guy was like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm passionate about my growth, of course. And the guy asked him, he was like, so how many hours a day do you dedicate to your self-growth if you're really passionate about it? Because if you're passionate about something, you love it and you do it every single day, right? No problem, no ease. So you're like, how passionate are you? He was like, yeah, I'm pretty passionate. I work on myself hour every other day, sometimes 3 times a week, 4 times a week. He was like, that's not someone who's passionate. Someone who's passionate about their self-development dedicates 2 hours to 3 hours every day, rain or shine, no matter what happens, because they are so passionate about their growth. They are so passionate about who they're becoming, what they're changing into, and what they're elevating into, that their whole life changes and they love it so much. And at the time, if I was honest, I was not passionate about my self-development, right? I wasn't waking up early. I really wasn't doing it every day. I wasn't studying every day. I wasn't reading every day. I was still listening to so much music. So I was like, man, if I look at this, like, and if I'm being real with myself, I'm not really passionate about my self-development, to be honest. I'm really not. Like, I was looking at it, I'm like, yo, if that's what defines passionate, then I'm not passionate. So I had to change that. I had to change my passion for this self-development. I had to start to develop it. And it's hard to develop passion for something that you don't know how it's going to go. So that was another thing. So passion, it's love, it's intense, eager love for something. But in all reality, I never had a love for reading. I actually used to be somebody that said I hated reading. Right? I used to be the person that said, I will never journal. Like, no, of course not. Meditation, there's no shot. Like, and then working out for me was something that, I used to love to do when I was, playing baseball, because obviously it would make me stronger, which would make me throw harder. So I loved doing it back then. But nowadays, it's like, sometimes it's hard for me to even find the motivation to want to get me to go to the gym. So all of these things that, were going to help me be successful, I was not doing them, and I wasn't doing them passionately. So I had to develop that passion, and I had to go through something called the dark side. All right. And I want you guys to understand this. Sometimes you have to fight in the dark until you find the light. That is such a powerful message that I'm covering here today. All right. And you know what's funny? I'm still kind of like in the intro message of this training, which is the craziest part about all of this. All right. But sometimes you have to fight in the dark until you find the light. So, Nano, what do you mean by that? Well, sometimes you have to fight to do the things that you don't want to do, the things that you can't see yet. Like, you got to think about it. I had to fight in the dark until I actually found the light and realized that, yo, this morning routine can change my life if I keep doing it, because I started to change. I started to grow. I started to become more aware, more conscious, more everything. But you have to fight in the dark, though. You have to fight in the dark, which means you have to do all of those things that you don't want to do every single day until you start to love to do them. So think about it. Coming from a kid like me, born in Washington Heights, I grew up in, the whole hood my whole life. All I ever known was the streets, basically, and baseball. And now I'm supposed to be reading, waking up early, meditating, listening to audios of these old guys that I never knew who they were or any of that stuff, like talking to me about all of these things that I didn't know about, paradigms and spiritual stuff. And, I have to work out every morning now, like all of these things. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, how am I going to be passionate about this stuff? It was so hard for me to even fathom and like realize it. And I think that's why it took me so long to get into my self-development journey. Guys, it took me almost 2 years before I got into self-development after I joined in entrepreneurship. Almost 2 full years it took me of work. So imagine some of you guys are on this call, right? Like I know this individual. I don't know if she's on this call. Her name is Stephanie, as an example, right? She's on my team. Great student. Stephanie, she just got started like 90 days ago. She's killing it. She's, going hard. She's listening to all the audios, KT, all of that stuff. She's on all the calls. Yo, I'm like, yo, this girl's gonna kill it. Like, if she keeps going like this, like, bro, I didn't start doing what she's doing in her first 2 months. And I didn't start doing that till I was 2 years in the game. So think about that. What she's doing month 2, month 3 of her business, I wasn't doing that till month what? If we do 2 years, was that 24 months? I think I started about 21, 22 months in. So I'm like, yo, this is what it's about. I see so many great leaders now stepping up early, doing it early from the beginning, from now, really taking their self-development extremely serious. Like really, really, really serious. I know my brother Alex, there's so many people on this call that I know that have taken these calls extremely, extremely serious. But what are they doing? They are fighting in the dark. You have to fight in the dark long enough. Carlos was somebody that's fought in the dark until he found the light. You find the light eventually. But you got to keep doing it. You got to keep fighting in the dark. You got to keep doing those things that you don't like to do. Those things that you don't like to do, those are the things that are going to help you grow. That's the fight in the dark, the work that nobody saws, that nobody sees. Nobody walked with me every day to the park at 5:55, 6 a.m. in the morning. Nobody sat there and read with me and did the journal entries with me and wrote their goals down with me and worked out with me. I did that all by myself. I didn't wait for nobody. I didn't have a partner. You know what I'm saying, guys? It's like I'm saying, like, you really have to take the time to fight in the dark. Fight in the dark every single day until you find that light. You have to find that light. And I promise you, if you fight in the dark enough, you have to do it enough, though. You have to do it enough. You have to do it so many times until you find that light. Eventually, you'll have that big realization. Some of you guys are like, well, Nano, what's the light? Well, the light is when you finally realize how powerful it is, everything that you've been doing. When you realize, like, damn, yo, this is it right here for me. Like, look at how much I've grown. Look at how much I've elevated. Look at what's all here. But you have to fight in the dark first. And the thing is that everybody's darkness is different. My darkness was months. Some people's darkness is, days, weeks, months. Some people's darknesses could be up to a year. You could be in the dark for a year before you find the light. It all depends. It all depends on how much you fight, on how strategic you are, on how consistent and disciplined you are. It's all dependent on you. It really, really is dependent on you. I have so many incredible people, so many great students, like the ones that I've used as examples, that are fighting in the dark right now. They're all fighting in the dark right now. Eventually they will see the light. But you gotta be here. You gotta work. And even if you don't feel like waking up, and even though certain days it may feel harder, and because that's the fight to create a new story for yourself. That's the fight right there. You have to fight to create a new story for yourself. You need new ideas to think from. You need a new belief system. You need a new way of looking at things. You need new perspectives. You need to change that, because if not, your story will always be the story that you're telling yourself. Now, do you know that based off of your situation, I can tell you what story you tell yourself? If you come up to me and you were to have a conversation with me, okay, and within 5 minutes of me having a conversation with you, I can tell you the story that you're telling yourself that's creating the life that you're living based off of that. Think about a job. Look at what's so messed up about a job. And like I said, I never ever knock jobs, but just look at this right here. Look, when they told me this, I was like, damn, that's crazy. Right? They say that you become what you think about most of the time, right? So think about people who work jobs, right? When you wake up, what's the first thought that comes to your mind? I got to get to work, right? Most of the time when you wake up, yo, I got to get ready because I got to go to work, right? Now you're on your way to work. You're thinking about your day at work. Man, I got to do this today. I got to do this at work, so on and so forth. Now you're at work and you're already dying to leave work and how much you hate this job and how much you wish you weren't here. And you're just talking about everybody in there about your job. And then you get out your job. You're on your way to work. You're on your way home, talking about your job, probably thinking about how your job went. Okay. And then you go home, you eat, you do something, and then you go to sleep again with the thought of, man, I got to wake up tomorrow at this time so I can go back to my job. So if you think about it, you're always stuck in that cycle, thinking about it all the time. It becomes a belief. You're always thinking about it. You're always talking about it. You're always, triggered by the job at all times. That's why sometimes it's so hard for people. Okay. That's why sometimes it's so hard for people to get out of that mindset because they've been in it so long. They've been in it for years. Yo, wake up, job, on your way to work, job, always listening, talking about it. The weekends, man, Monday's coming around, got to go back to work. And think about it. If you sit down and think about what we're talking about here, you get triggered by the thought of your job. Your mind gets triggered. Then you start to think about it over and over and over again. You start to think about it. You start to talk to people about it, everything. Then it becomes a belief, and then that belief becomes your story. That's why there's certain people that when you talk to them about entrepreneurship, they can't even fathom the idea of them becoming an entrepreneur because they can't imagine their life with anything else but a job. It's the truth. It's the God honest truth. I've seen it, and this is not me trying to talk down on anybody here that has a job. I know that everybody who's on this call is going to be strong enough to be able to quit their jobs and be able to become their own boss and entrepreneurs. I know that for all of you listening on this call, your job is temporary. Trust me, this is not for you. This is for the people that don't have awareness of this. There's people that don't have the awareness. At least you guys on this call are aware of this now. You have to break that curse. You have to break that paradigm. You have to break that. You have to get rid of that. That will keep you right there. Yeah, I promise you, that will keep you there forever because it's a mindset. It's a belief system. That's why I tell people all the time, I'm like, yo, if I could quit my job, I would quit it. Like, that's the reason why I never chose to do a job. Because I'm like, yo, the moment I choose to do that, that's a mindset. That's a way of thinking. The people I'm around, the network, the people I spend the most time with, like, yes, I get it. It may not be as comfortable, bro, but I would make sure that I just change so that I can be around the right people, so that I can be in the environments that I want to be in, so that I can talk to the people that I want to talk to. That's why I tell my people, I'm like, yo, if you can quit, quit. If you can quit the job, quit it, because I'm telling you, it is worth so much more outside of the job than in the job. I promise you that. So if you can do it, because what's the worst that can happen? You come back to working it. That's what I say is like, yo, what's the worst that can happen? Well, I just look for another job. Then if that's the worst, then I'm okay with that. But what's the best that can happen is that you never come back. I'll take those risks. I'll take those risks. That's just me. But I'm not here on this call telling you to quit your job. That's not what I'm here to do. No. Don't blame that on me. I said, if you're ready, if you have 6 months to a year in your bank account, that if you had to use the money in your bank account to pay for your bills and to pay for everything, and you solid and you good and you want to go all into your business, in my honest opinion, I would do it. But that's just me. I don't know that everybody has the same work ethic as me. Not everybody has the same risk mindset as me. It's not the same. But if you're truly passionate about what you're doing, and you know that if you were to dedicate a total of 6 months to your side business, and you know that in those 6 months your whole life can change, I would do it. I would. That's the God honest truth, because like I said, it's a paradigm. You want to change the paradigm, the way of thinking. If you can change the way you think, it's over. So you got to think about this. All right. You got to ask yourself this question. Right. And this is part of the lesson. A lot of what I've you got to ask yourself this question. What story do you tell yourself when you think about 2023? You got to ask yourself this question. What story do you tell yourself when you think about 2023? All right. What story do you tell yourself when you think about 2023? All right. Another question I want you to ask yourself is what feelings arise when you think about 2023? What feelings arise when you think about 2023? All right. Another question I want you to ask yourself is, what would be the difference between your 2022 story and your 2023 story? What would be the difference? This is important right here. So what story do you tell yourself when you think about 2023? You have to sit down and create a story for yourself today. Nano, what do you mean by a story? Like, I want you to write the story from a perspective like it already happened. So I want you to write the story in a perspective from December 31st, 2023. Let's act like tomorrow is New Year's for 2024. How did your 2023 just go? I want you to write it in that perspective. I want you to write it in the perspective. I wish I would have had one of my journals from the beginning of this year, so I could have read to you guys my 2022 story. Actually, when I get home, I'm going to read that so I can see what was aligned and what wasn't. But just to give you guys an example, just off the top of my head, improvised, right? If I were to write my 2023 story, I would write something like this, for example. I would be like, wow, 2023 has been the biggest year of my life. I am so thankful. This year was the year that I got closer to God, and I built the most strongest relationship with my creator. And because of that, I received all the blessings that I was asking for. I am currently earning $100,000 a month in profit through multiple streams of income. I've traveled to over 20 different countries. I've been able to impact the lives of thousands of people. I retired my family. I bought my mom and dad a house in the Dominican Republic. I've been able to, get to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. I have 100,000 followers on Instagram. Like, my life is the best that it's ever been. I am happy. I am blessed. I am in a beautiful relationship. My relationship is healthy, is peaceful. We're traveling the world together. I'm spending more time with my family. I'm a better son. I'm a great mentor. Like, you're speaking the story that you want to live. Like, if you were to describe your 2023 story in the most amazing way, how would that sound like? Describe your story with the feelings and the accomplishments that you already gonna accomplish this year, and write it in the perspective that you already did it. Nano, I am so proud of you. Congratulations on hitting Chairman 100, on becoming an MMX educator that now has over 20,000 subscribers on MMX. You did some amazing retreats this year. You did some great tours. You met some great people. You tapped into the Spanish side of of your talents. And now you're doing calls in Spanish. You're doing tours in Spanish. Like, you are an absolute savage, Nano. I'm so proud of you, bro. Like, you did everything that you said you were going to do. Continue to work, bro. Like, you are great, great people. Yo, it's, remember, you're writing the story about yourself, the story you're going to tell yourself. So think about it. The reason why I can do that off the top of my head is because this is a story I'm already telling myself every single day. You're living in a beautiful condo on the beach, overlooking, you know, the ocean, and, you know, life is abundant. You live in peace. Your morning routine is your most strongest asset. You handle yourself well. You know, you live by a code now. You're a truthful person. You live with integrity. Everybody loves you. You have a beautiful relationship with your family and all your goddaughters and godsons. Like, really sitting there and like making sure that people know, like, your story. Like, you know, one of my things for 2023 is I want to, one of my main priorities is relationships, you know, not just a relationship with God, but, you know, the relationship with my girlfriend, the relationship with, you know, my friends, my family, my mentees. Like, that's one of the main things that I'm going to work on this year is my relationships, like really, really keeping my relationships solid, strong, you know, at peace, filled with love, unconditional love. Like, that's the kind of things that I want to be working on. Those are one of the things I want to work on this year. A lot of my relationships, okay? Because I know if I fix my relationships, a lot of other things in my life will be better. So these are some of the things I want to work on. So, you know, just pick and choose what you want your life to be, what you want that story to be for 2023. Now, when you write that, right, what feelings arise when you think about 2023? Do you get feelings of abundance, happiness, love, peace? Or do you get feelings of doubt, fears, insecurities? You just don't know yet. You feel down about it. If you feel down and insecure and everything about it and doubtful, it's because you're not telling yourself the right story yet. Right? You got to tell yourself the right story. The right story is what will determine the reality that you live, guys. Remember that. The story you tell yourself will determine the reality that you live. All right? And understand that your heart will give you what you truly desire. Your heart will give you what you truly desire. Whatever it is that you desire, your heart will give it to you. But your heart will give you what you truly desire. And if what you truly desire is going to be based off of the story that you tell yourself, because the story that you tell yourself is what you say to yourself over and over and over again. Whatever you tell yourself over and over and over again, that's going to be your story. And the story goes into your heart, and your heart is going to give you what you want. So my best advice for all of you that are on this call is sit down today and create your 2023 story. If you haven't already, like, what is going to be your 2023 story? Like, if you were to tell me your story for 2023, what would it sound like? What would it sound like? KT says the story must be in the sweet spot. Yeah, no, of course, it has to be in the sweet spot. You can't create this. Like, for example, I can't sit here and be like, I'm going to buy a yacht this year. You know, a yacht for me or a jet won't be in the sweet spot for me, right? A yacht, there's certain things that I would have to do first before I get to a yacht. So a yacht for me, but I know that everything that I spoke about, everything that I said is in the sweet spot for me, because I know for a fact I can do it, you know? And even if a lot of those things I have to push myself, but still, you do got to keep things in the sweet spot. Yo, guys, I'm telling you, this is one of the most powerful strategies that I've applied to my life over the years is writing down my story. I write down my story. I write it down, guys, and write it and think about it. Like, sit down. Like, if you could create the most beautiful 2023 story where everything worked in your favor, what would that story be? What would the story be? If every goal that you wanted to hit this year, if you lost all the weight that you wanted to lose and you got to the most perfect shape of your life, and you know, you moved out of your family's house, and what does that condo look like? You know, how does it feel? You know, how does it feel to hit that rank? How does it feel to now be that six-figure trader? What are you doing now? Like, I want you to sit down and really create this story. Like, really create the story, like, and believe the story. And eventually what you want to do with that story is, this is what I tell people. This is what I did. Write down the story and read it to yourself every day, once or twice a day, bro. It only takes 2 minutes, 3 minutes to read that story. Not even sometimes, depending on how long you make it. It'll take you a minute or two to read that story. Imagine if all you had to do was read that story every day, morning and night, until you believed it. Think about how easy of a strategy that is. Create a story that you want to live and then just read it every morning and every night. That's all you have to do. And the good thing is you can always improve it. So that was one thing. So guys, yo, I'm telling you guys, I did this back in 2019. Back in 2020, I did these things. And at the beginning, I would be like, yo, for real? Like, because remember, guys, you know this, right? You guys know this, right? There is here, right? The goal that we want, right? Right? The 2023 story that we're talking about. All right. The 2023 story, the thing that we think is there, in reality, it's also here. Right? There is here. You just have to get yourself to believe that you're here already. The only way you're going to get yourself to believe that is by telling yourself that story every day. Because look, right? If we take off the letter T from this, what does it say? Here, right? Now, what is the T? The T stands for time. What is time, right? If we were to do time, T-I-M-E, what does it stand for? Things I must experience. Things I must experience. So if there is here and here is there, then all I have to do is get myself to believe, right? Where I'm at right here, I got to get myself to believe that I'm also there. And how do I do that? By the things that I experience on a day-to-day basis. I have to keep faith that everything that I'm going through, that everything that I'm listening to, that everything that's happening in my life is there. And it's all part of the process to get me to that story. This is how it really works. So that's why I can't wait for me to get back home so I can actually read to you guys some of the stories that I told myself when I was, on my come up, when I was still living in my parents' house, when I was still broke. I started to tell myself this story that I was a six-figure earner, traveling the world, speaking on stages. Before I did any of these things, before I had thousands of people on Mornings with Nano, before we had merchandise, before, I had traveled to different countries. Bro, I remember when I only had, 2 or 3 countries under my belt, and I would speak it like, yo, I'm going to travel to over 10 plus countries. Now I've traveled to over 10 plus countries. I visited over 12 countries. Now I'm speaking over 20. It's so funny because look, just the other day, we were talking about speaking about I always talk about like, yo, one of my goals for this year, I'm at 12. I want to get to over 20 countries visited in 2023. That's one of my stories in 2023 that I tell myself is that I'm gonna get my countries count to over 20. Look at how funny life works. Just the other day, right? Matt Rosa puts me in a chat and he says, yo, we're gonna go on a tour. It's called the PALS tour, PALS. And then he drops the countries that we want to go to. And I looked at it and there's like 4 or 5 different countries on there that I've never been to. And I'm like, oh, this is lit. Just like this, now Matt is helping me accomplish one of my goals for this year, which is I need to visit at least 8 countries this year that I've never been to get to 20. think 8 or 7. I got to count it again. But look, I've never been to Serbia. We might go to Serbia. I've never been to Germany. I've never been to Kazakhstan, Egypt, Japan, Canada. I've been to Italy, but not everywhere in Italy, right? I've been to France, but not everywhere in France, right? Netherlands, I've never been to Netherlands. So just right there, there's 5 or 6 different countries that I've never been to. And I'm like, and this is why they say, yo, you don't need to know the how. You just need to know that you're going to do it. I didn't know how. I just put it out there. Yo, I'm going to visit 20 countries this year. I'm going to get my countries up to 20. And look, out of nowhere, I'm in the right place at the right time. Matt decides to put a tour in place. And on the tour, there's 5 to 6 different countries that I've never been to in it. You see how it works? You see how that works? You just never, ever know. You just have to organize yourself. You just have to know the story that you tell yourself. There is no doubt in my mind that I'm going to get what it is that I want. My 2023 story, I already know what it is. I already wrote it down. I'm speaking it. I'm listening to it. And the story you tell yourself will be the reality that you live. The story you tell yourself will determine the reality that you live. And this is not just what I'm saying with this, right? Let me go back over here, right? What I'm saying with this as well is that this cannot just be your story with your business. What's the story with your family? What's the story with your health? What's the story with your relationship? What's the story with you and God? Organize that whole story. Sit down and create a very intentional story, not just with your business, but with your health. You know, I wrote down in my story, like, yo, part of my story is, you know, I'm going to get in the best shape of my life this year. Nano, you are in the best shape of your life this year. You're eating majority of your diet is plant-based and vegan. You're drinking tons of alkaline water. You're taking care of your health. Your health is your top priority in 2023. Like, I am so proud of you, bro. You look so good. You look so strong. You look so healthy. I wrote that in my story when it came to my health. You know what I'm saying? When it came to my family, I wrote down me making sure that I took care of all my parents' bills, and I made sure that I bought them that house, and that I also put money in their bank account, and I put a new car in their driveway. And yeah, I wrote those things down when it came to my family, me growing closer to them, spending more time with them, taking them on trips to travel the world with me. Man, I wrote all of these things, man. I wrote so many amazing things about so many amazing stuff. I wrote stuff for my business. I wrote stuff for my relationship. I wrote stuff for me and God. Everything, I have a story for it. I have a story for all of it, guys. But you got to make sure that you do it. If you don't do it, then if you don't write the story, then you'll never know the story that you're going to tell yourself. And the only story that you're going to tell yourself is the story that you hear from others, because nothing else is influencing you. There's going to be a story. Everybody has a story. So that's the thing, is like, it's either you take this serious or you don't. It's either you take this serious or you don't. You can either hop off this call and be like, Nano, like, yeah, cool training, bro. Like, I appreciate it and everything. But if you actually take the time to write this story, and you actually take the time to embrace it and make it a priority, I promise you, your whole lives will change. And it's 11/11. That's how true it is. That's how true it is. You actually take the time to write down this story, and I promise you, and you're intentional about it. Like, right after this call, like, you sit down for, it'll take you 15 minutes to do, 15, 20 minutes. What is your 2023 story? Write it down. Seriously. Write down your 2023 story. Write it down, and write it down. Read it twice a day. Like, really fall in love with the idea of that story. Fall in love with the idea of that story until the point where you've read it so many times that you already live in the presence of that story. It's so key to the point where you've read that story so many times that you believe that story so much. You believe that story. You're like, wow, what a story. What a story. You can just sit there and be like, man, this story is so amazing. You start to fall in love with the idea of like, yo, I'm going to live this story this year. And the thing is that when you tell yourself that enough, it doesn't matter what happens in your life. You know your story. So at the end of the day, you know that everything that is happening to make that story come a reality. So when you fail, when you take a loss, when something happens in your life, you almost take it with a grain of salt and it's water under the bridge, because you're like, yo, it's part of my story. Like this is what's going to help me live the story that I'm writing down that's there. So right now, you're just going to be happy the whole time. This is why so many people would sometimes ask me like, Nano, how is it that you're able to stay so positive and so disciplined? And I'm like, bro, because I already know my story. I already know my story. So I know that if this person leaves my business, that's part of the story. I know that if I'm going through what I'm going through, that's part of my story. I know these things. Everything that happens in my life is part of my story. As crazy as it may sound, whatever it is, I know it's part of my story. Facts. Damn, that person left my business, part of my story. This happened to me, part of my story. I got fired from my job, part of my story. Part of my story, part of my story, part of my story. That's how I look at it. It's part of my story. I don't even get stressed out anymore because it's part of my story. That is there. I'm here. That's it. In order for me to get there, there's obviously things I got to go through, right? Time, things I must experience. There's things I got to experience. I can't take an experience that's going to help me create my story bad, because the goal is to stay in the feeling of the story. How are you going to feel when the story becomes a reality? You're going to feel good. You're going to feel blessed. You're going to feel amazing. So when these things happen, when these adversity and then these hiccups happen in your life, you have to take it that way. You got to be like, yes, man, thank you. Like, I'm so grateful for this challenge. I'm so grateful for this challenge. I'm so grateful that this is happening for me, because guess what? This is what's going to help me live the story that I continue to tell myself. You can't be sad about it. You can't take it personal, because if you take it personal, then that's not in alignment with your story. That means that you're still telling your same story to yourself that wasn't working for you, and you're believing that story. Because think about it, and I'm going to end it with this. If something happens to you and you get frustrated and mad and you get down on yourself, then if you're allowing that to make you feel down and think, it's because the story that you're telling yourself aligns with it, right? You're telling yourself a story that, makes you feel down, makes you feel like a failure, makes you feel, and you just attracted that specific situation in your life that made you feel that same way again, that made you align with that story. Now, look at it in this way. Let's say I created the story, the one I just told you guys, right? Where, Nano, I'm so proud of you. You're making $100,000 a month. You're traveling the world, and so on and so forth. Now, if something happens to me tomorrow, God forbid, right? Or at any time in the year, if whatever happens, person leaves my business, I take a loss, or this happens, or even what I'm currently going through right now, right? It's like I look at it and it's like, yo, I can only be grateful for it, because I'm like, yo, this is exactly what needs to happen in order for me to receive this that I've been writing down. I have to become a better man. I have to go through these things. Okay. I got to go through these things so that I can get to this story that I created for myself. This is something that I have to experience in order for me to create the story that I want to create for myself in 2023. So I never look at it as, man, I'm going through this and I'm sad, I'm down. Is it hard? Of course it's hard. Is it difficult? Yes. Do I still go through emotions? Absolutely. I was talking to my sis Jasmine about it last week. I'm like, yo, sis, it's been hard, but we've been staying strong. I'm positive. I'm still positive. It's been hard, but I'm staying strong. And I'm grateful for it. And I write it down, because it's easier said than done, guys. I promise you, it's easier said than done when you're going through some of these things. But the good thing is that you keep a good, positive mindset, knowing that, yo, this has to happen in order for me to get to that location. And I'm grateful that it's happening to me. And every day you're just grateful for it. You're growing through these stuffs. And I want you to understand that this year, because I can guarantee you things. There's going to be challenges this year too. But what is your perspective of those challenges? Every challenge you go through this year is going to be in alignment with what it is that you want. You said you wanted to make this amount of money. You said you wanted to impact this many people. You said this, you said this, you said that. Well, guess what? Here's the test. Here's the challenges, and here's the obstacles to receive that. Let's go see if you're going to do it now. That's how it works. You want 6 figures. You want to travel. You want to retire your family. You want to quit your job. Here are the challenges. Here are the obstacles. Here's everything that's going to come with you getting that. Let's see if you're going to go for it. That's how it works. Straight up. Nano, you want $100,000 a month? These are the challenges you're going to get. Nano, you want a peaceful and loving relationship with your significant other? Here, you got to go through this. Nano, you want to develop 26-figure earners in your business? These are the challenges you have to go through. These are the obstacles. This is what you got to learn. These are the lessons. I got to take it with how it comes. Got to take it. That's how it works, fam. So if you guys got value from today's call, put a 23 in the chat box if you guys got value from today's call. All right. If you guys got value from today's call, type a 23 in the chat box, guys. Guys, seriously, I know this call was a little longer than usual, but really take this time today at some point and really, 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 like, seriously, not like I'm so serious about this. Really write down your 2023 story. Like, if there's, and look, write it down now and then look back a year from now. Write it down and then just look back a year from now and look back to see how many of that story you actually lived. And let me give you guys a little trick right here that may inspire you. Every time I've done this, guys, be real with you guys. Every time I've ever done this, 80 to 90% of the story that I write down comes true. For real. 80 to 90% of the story that I write down ends up coming true. So imagine the story that you write down today. What if 80 to 90% of that story comes true? What if 100% of the story comes true? It's the truth. Yo, it can happen for you. Almost every time, I've been doing this since 2019. I've done it for 2019. I've done it for 2020. I've done it for 2021. And I've done it for 2022. I'm going on 2023 now. I've done this the last 4 years. And the last 4 years, 80 to 90% of my story, I think at some point, even 100% of my story has come a reality. And I have written it down from a perspective that I didn't even have it yet. So every time I wrote down the story, I wrote it from a perspective that I didn't even have it yet. So what do I mean by that? Like, when I wrote down my 2019 story, I didn't have 6 figures. I didn't have those things. Everything that you guys see me living today is the story I told myself. Mornings with Nano, traveling the world, the mentors that I have, the team that I have, everything is a part of the story. It has all come into fruition. It can come into fruition for you as well. All right, guys. So with that being said, that wraps up today's call. I hope you guys got a lot of value from it. If you guys don't follow me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram at Long Live Nano. This is my Instagram right here. We also have the Mornings with Nano page. Guys, as you guys know, we are on MMX Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. If you guys are still not a part of the MMX family, I want you guys to become a part of it. The MMX family is growing every single day, is growing stronger. You know, we're getting, 60, 70 people on the calls on MMX now. So it's growing every single day. A lot of things are going to be launching very, very shortly here. I'm here in San Diego till Thursday, so I'm going to be doing an inner circle call this week. No, sorry, I'm going to do it next week, actually, when I'm home and I could run something very intentional for the whole team. But next week, I'm going to run an inner circle call where I'm going to be going over everything that, comes with being a part of our inner circle with MMX. Okay, so MMX is going to be not just mornings with Nano. This is going to include retreats. This is going to include merchandise. This is going to include private investment opportunities, ideas, mentorship, guidance, like so many incredible things, recordings, like, it's just so many things. And on top of that, you don't just get access to me with MMX, you get access to Millie Mills, you get access to Matt Rosa, you get access to Chris Reef, you get access to some incredible leaders, fam. So I just want you guys to know that. So if you guys want more information on MMX, make sure that you guys reach out to my Mornings with Nano Instagram page. Myself and my business partner, Jasmine, are managing that page. So it's either me or her. She's basically, that's my family. That's my right hand right there. So anything that, goes through her goes through me. So trust me, she's always in communication with me. She's the one that's helping me out with it all. So just know that you guys are well taken care of. You guys will be good. We're going to run this all the way up. But, with that being said, that wraps up today's call. Go write down your 2023 story. All right. Go write down your 2023 story, and let's run it up. I'm gonna do a quick prayer for us, and then we're gonna wrap this up. All right, fam. So everybody bow your heads. Let's pray. Father God, I just want to say thank you so much for this beautiful Tuesday morning that you've allowed us to wake up and become better versions of ourselves. Today, we had a very powerful call where we talked about the story that we want to live in 2023. And we just know that at the end of the day, the story has already been created by you, Father. We just have to continue to go out there and live in those stories and live in those experiences that come with the stories that we write down, the challenges, the ups, the downs, and everything that comes with it. Just really feel it and understand that you have taken the wheel and you're the one guiding us through this whole entire story. And we know that as long as you're the one taking the wheel, we trust that you're going to take us to the promised land. We trust that you're going to show us the light. We trust that you're going to help give us the strength that we need in the dark to fight each and every single day and grow into the versions of ourselves that deserve to get those things that we continue to ask for, Father, because we truly understand that in life is not about what we want, and life is about what we become. And what we become is what leads to the things that we truly desire in life. So thank you so much, Father, for the lessons. Thank you for being there for us each and every single day. Give us the strength all year. Give us the wisdom. Give us the awareness all year that we need in order for us to make these stories become a reality, Father. So we love you and we appreciate you. In God's name we pray. Amen. 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 All right. So God is on our side. He's leading the way for all of us. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your days. If there's anything that I want you guys to do today is write down your story. That's all I care about. Write down your story. Like, just please write down your story. Like, if there's one assignment that you need to do today, is writing down your story. What is your 2023 story? And write it from the perspective that you already did it. Like, this is what I accomplished. This is what I did. This is how I feel. This is amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's already done. And read it twice a day, once in the morning, once in the night, and improve it as you go, and watch what will happen for your life in 2023. I love ya. I appreciate ya. I'll see you guys tomorrow on MMX at